I was a terrible student in high school. I couldn't tell you a single book or piece of literature I studied. English class was more about staying out of trouble or staying awake. So if you had told me during that time, Kevin, you would discover the beauty and the power of words, and you would begin to use them to bring clarity and hope, I would have said you're talking about another Kevin Shin. But when I went to college, for some reason, I took up letter writing. I loved to write handwritten letters to people, and my mom, who worked at the post office, always made sure I had a book of stamps on my desk so that there was one less excuse for not writing. 2005, I started a web log. I started writing the process of what it was like opening a restaurant and just telling the story of the ups and downs. But I still wouldn't call myself a writer at that time. It wasn't until 2010 when I discovered that my wife was diagnosed with ovarian cancer that writing became my title. I was sitting in the consultation room at the hospital. The surgeon had just left and delivered the bad news that indeed her cancer was significant. And I sat alone wondering what to do. And my first compulsion, and I call this a compulsion because I was compelled to do so, not to go out for a jog or call a friend. I was compelled to go out and write about it. And that's when I knew, I think I am a writer. Because what writing does for me is it helps me to sort through thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And it was like the surgeon had brought in a jigsaw puzzle. On top was a pretty little picture, but he opens the box and dumps the pieces all over my lap and then leaves. I am left with a mess and not sure where to start. And so writing is a little like assembling a jigsaw puzzle for me. I start with a piece that I recognize. Oh, there's a corner. Let's start there. And then we find other pieces that fit next to it. We don't have the whole picture yet. We're not even sure what the picture is going to look like, but we can slowly start to assemble these pieces, and words are how I do that. My writing took a significant turn again, though, this time in 2020. My wife had passed, and I had planned a trip to Ireland to process my grief and just to escape. And someone had given me a copy of this book by John O'Donohue called To Bless the Space Between Us. It was a book of Irish poetry, and I had never really read anything of his. And I thought, this will be a great read in country. So I kept it in my bag. I didn't read it on the plane going over. But one morning, leaving Dublin on a train for Western Ireland, I pulled that book out of my bag and I started to read. And I was confronted by the power and the beauty of words as they were assembled in a poetic fashion. I'd never encountered writing like this ever. It was so profound, I couldn't get past the first 5 poems. They were so moving and so dramatic that I just stayed on those first 5 poems. When I got back to the United States and got back home, I pulled out this little Remington Quiet Writer typewriter. It was in the top of a closet in my basement. And I pulled it out and dusted it off and found that it had a viable ribbon. And I typed out a little quote from John O'Donohue's book. I took a picture of it and I posted it on my Instagram account. And it wasn't long till I felt a little tinge of guilt. Not because I didn't plagiarize, I quoted him. But the still small voice said, "Kevin, you're a writer. Use your own words." And I knew at that moment I had to take a risk to push my writing into a different direction. And so the next day I did that. I typed my own thoughts, took a picture, posted it on Instagram, and this is where it's gone. Hundreds and hundreds of thoughts like that I've used to assemble my thinking into a clearer picture about what I am going through. All of this is written directly to me first, because I am my first audience in my writing. And through this, what I've found out is my purpose or my role or my mission is I want to use my voice to help you hear yours. Just like O'Donoghue did for me. I was in the middle of grieving loss, and Donoghue's voice came along, and his words became my words. But eventually, I needed to start using my own. And that's what I would like my writing to do, is not inspire. I don't look to inspire, because if you're in need of inspiration, you need a paramedic, not a writer, because we all have that natural ability to inspire ourselves. But occasionally, the room gets stuffy, and my writing, hopefully, is like opening a window and letting a little fresh air in so we can all breathe easier together.